The following are true scary stories found on the subreddit Let's Not Meet. I'll have a link in the description below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you can catch all of my future content. Let's begin. My mother came home late one night in a panic. She was sure she was being followed. This is her story. I was coming back from my friend's house. It was about 2 a.m. when I left, and I had a bit of a drive, mostly freeway. I was the only one on the freeway, zoning out and listening to George Norrie. I didn't notice another car had joined me, until they were riding right on my tail. I thought it was odd that they wouldn't just pass me since we were the only ones in sight. The car moved to the left lane, and I was relieved that they had decided to go around me. Until they didn't. Instead of passing me, the car stayed at my same speed, exactly parallel to me. I thought it was a little odd, but probably just an accident on their part. The car was nothing special, just an old black car with a solo male driver. I decided to give the guy some space and slowed down to about 60 miles per hour. From the left lane, he too slowed down until we were once again side by side. So I speed up to nearly 80. Within seconds, he gained speed and was right next to me again. It became clear that this was no mistake. The only thing on my mind was not being alone with this car. I sped up trying to catch up with any cars on the road. In the way distance, I saw a tow truck, which became my target. As I raced to reach the truck, the car was parallel to me the entire time. I reached the truck just in time to see it signal and take the exit off the freeway. My mind was racing with every news story of drive-by shootings I had heard, when I noticed a police car parked in the distance. The black car must have noticed it as well. He dropped way back behind me and got into the right lane. As soon as we both had passed the police car, the black car wasted no time in catching right back up. In hindsight, I should have just pulled up behind the police car, but I had no idea what to say. I was being driven next to. I had to lose this guy. I slammed on the gas and was going about 95. He was doing 95 right next to me. I was so scared, and I was driving way too fast, and I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my phone and started to dial 911. He must have seen the light from my screen, because immediately he dropped way back, until I almost couldn't even see his lights. I sped up and took my exit, racing home. I'm a little nervous that he saw where I got off, but I sped home, so I don't think he was following me. I don't think there is anything I can do about it, except think twice about driving late at night. So what do you guys think? My only idea was perhaps a group of prankster teens, but my mom said it was only one person in the car. Are there any other similar stories like this? Last night, my sister and I, 24 and 26, decided to go jogging at night by our house. We don't live in the best area, but it's also not the worst. That is to say, most of the people in my neighborhood are well-meaning good folks, but there are also still a lot of shady characters that spill over from the really bad areas surrounding us. So, down the block from our house, there's a block that stretches really long with a church on one side of the road and an elementary school on the other. The school takes up the whole square block, so my sister and I decide to jog around the perimeter. This isn't our first time we've done this, but this is the first time we've done it at night. Several laps in, as we jogged along the side of the school that runs along the main road, a white car drives by in the same direction that we are running in. For reference, at this time of night, there are not many cars on the road here. There might be 1 or 2 cars every 5 minutes on a busy night. There are also no people out. We didn't come across any other pedestrians the entire time we were out there. My sister and I are both vigilant people, so we take a glance at the vehicle. The car had heavily tinted, pitch black windows, making it impossible to see the driver or anyone else inside. This made us both tentative, as the car was driving at a slow pace, matching the pace of our jog. My sister, who's a few years older than me, told me to stay calm and just look straight. We were coming up on the corner of the school where we turned left to continue along its perimeter. Continually talking through the side of her mouth so as not to alert the person or persons in the car and let them know that we were alarmed, my sister told me to run really fast once we turned the corner. You might be thinking that they could have just easily turned the corner with us. That's true, but once we turned the corner and got to the end of the block, we'd be turning left again since we were jogging along the perimeter of the school. The car, however, would not be able to make another left turn as there was a stone barricade that stopped cars from driving along that side of the school as a safety precaution in case children ran out of the playground during recess. So, the plan was to turn left, jet down the street, and make the second left that they wouldn't be able to make. Well, we never had to do that because just a couple of feet short of the corner, the car suddenly sped up and made a quick right turn, driving out of sight. We still made the left turn and jogged about halfway down the block before we felt safe enough to stop, catch our breath, and take a good look behind us. They were gone, but we still didn't feel safe continuing with our workout, so we decided to make our way home. We start to walk back and reach the corner we just turned around when we see headlights quickly approaching across from us. On the road, the car just sped down. It was a white car again. They must have doubled back. My heart dropped into my gut. I said something along the lines of,
"Oh my gosh, it's the same car,"
to my sister, who had already picked up on it also. We were walking at this point, not jogging. If we turned right, we'd be walking alongside of the school. If we turned left, we'd be walking towards home, which was about 2 blocks away. If we went straight, we'd be heading straight for the white car, which at this point was just sitting at the intersection with no indication of making a move. What was scarier now was that the front passenger window was open and a guy was hanging out of it. In other words, his legs were in the car, but he was seated on the window ledge so that his entire body was hanging out and his arms resting on the roof of the car for support. He was a young guy, probably in his 20s, and looked kinda rough. If there was any chance before that their actions had nothing to do with us, it was pretty much gone now, as the guy was staring directly at us. So, to put it into perspective, we approached the corner about the same time the car approaches the opposite corner with the guy hanging out of the window staring straight at us. Before another second goes by, my sister grabs my arm and pulls me down with her as she does a squat. She gets back up and does another squat. She continues to drag me up and down with her as she squats, but I give her a really confused look and never take over the voluntary squat with her. I bulged my eyes out and gave her a look that screamed,
"Are you literally doing squats when there are potential killers right across the road looking at us?"
She just whispered through gritted teeth,
"Just go with the flow."
My sister would later explain to me that she did this because, no matter which direction we ran or walked in, there were no cars, no people, and a lot of open road. We had nowhere to run and effectively no way to get away. So the only strategy that she could think of was to stay put and possibly throw them off. The last thing that she wanted to do was to show them that we were scared, because predators like to feed on fear and often pounce when they feel like their victims are cornered. Scared? Please. We don't even notice you guys. We're just having a nice workout, doing squats. That was the vibe we were trying to give. But inside, we were freaking out, our hearts racing. At this point, we could hear people talking in the car, as the road was dead and there was nothing to drown out their voices. But they were too far away to make out their words. About a minute passed like this, the car just frozen at the intersection, the passenger's eyes frozen on us, and the windshield too black to see the driver or any other passengers. Then the most wonderful thing happened. We could see headlights from a car approaching on the road to our left. I was already planning in my head to wave it down for help once it got to the intersection, but the nearing presence of another car must have prompted the men in the white car to make a move first. They slowly turned left, which meant they were coming right at us and would be turning right past the corner we were standing on. My sister threw the "we're not scared" play right out the window at that moment, throwing her arms across my chest and pushing me back a few paces in case they made a move and tried to grab us before the other car approached the intersection. As they made their way by us, we could finally see what we were dealing with. There were 4 guys in the car: the driver, the front passenger hanging out of the window, and 2 back passengers. They all stared at us menacingly as they passed, and we stared back, my sister's arms still across my chest like a mama bear holding her cub back. The scariest part of all came from the front passenger. Whilst looking at us, says, "The wolves are hungry tonight." Then he cocks his head back and starts howling to the sky while repeatedly banging on the roof of the car with his hands. The other guys in the car join in the howling, and the back passenger on our side sticks his head out as far as he can and bangs on the side of the door with his arm. The chilling part about this is that my sister and I had been part of the children's theater production of Little Red Riding Hood months before, and we were both wearing the t-shirts that we had from the event. They were red and said the Little Red Riding Hood on the front. So as soon as the guy made the wolf comment, my sister and I made the connection. Whatever their intentions were, they were sinister. The guys continued to howl as they drove off, and once they had gotten several feet ahead of us, they sped off, taking the red light at the next intersection. The other car had pulled up at this point, but since the guys were gone, we ran home as fast as we could. We figured they would double back again to terrorize us some more. Thankfully, we made it home, locking the door behind us. We promised we would never work out at night again. So, to the wolf pack that turned a nighttime jog into a run-for-your-life moment, let's not meet. Let's start with some background. I'm a 26-year-old female, and my parents divorced when I was really young and were on bad terms at the time this event took place. They divorced when I was 5, and the event occurred when I was about 10 or 11. My dad was seeing a woman who I later coined as his spare tire in life, the one that you really don't want to use, but you have to anyway. I would go into further detail on my disdain for this woman, but I'll continue with the story. My dad's lady friend had 3 children of her own, and she didn't have custody of any of them. That should have told my father something about her in the first place, but he was really lonely. Anyway, my dad's hag convinced my father to let her only son visit for a few weeks during the summer. I thought this was cool at the time, since I liked meeting new people and thought that he might be within my age group. I was incorrect. The leech's son, who I will call Ethan, was about 16 or 17 at the time. He was tall, but really scrawny. I would say he was about 6 feet tall, but couldn't weigh more than 145 pounds. His shoulders were always hunched over, and his eyes always shifting, like he was constantly looking at everything. He gave me an uneasy feeling at first, but when I saw that my 2 older brothers were being nice to him, I tried to brush that feeling off. Now, like I said before, I liked meeting new people, but if they were a few years older than me, then I was really shy. I didn't say much to him during his visit, and now that I look back, I wish I had just stayed with my mom the whole time. I grew up in a small town in Oregon. It wasn't too big. It was still small enough for everyone to know everyone. There was a mountain range, just 10 minutes south of my hometown, where there was plenty of hiking, camping, trail riding, outdoorsy things to do. My dad, his hag, her son, and myself ended up going for a cruise to said mountain range. We were taking my dad's pickup all the way up. Now, it was a short cab pickup with a bench seat, so only 3 people could sit up there comfortably. Any more than that, and it would be messing with my dad's shifting arm, and he got angry when that happened. So seating arrangements were as follow. Father and Snatch Twat were sitting in the cab, while sitting in the bed of the pickup, which is always fun, no matter what age you are, was Ethan and me. As we made our way up the mountain, slowly so we could all enjoy the view, Ethan was very chatty with me. I found this odd since we never really spoke before, except for when we greeted each other at my dad's house. He was asking me all kinds of questions, like, "So, do you like any boys at school? Have you had any boyfriends? Do you like kissing? How far have you gone with a boy?" etc. His questions made all of my internal organs shrivel and made my body scream at me to get away from him. I figured since we were with my dad, not 2 feet away and only being separated by glass, he wouldn't try anything. My mom had taught me about stranger danger and the like, but I had never thought at the time that people that you knew would do anything like that. This event taught me differently. I had answered his questions with a simple answer being,
"No, I don't."
With me being 10 or 11, I most definitely was not interested in boys or any sort of romance. I mean, hell, I freaked out when I saw my dad kissing his wench. After a while, he finally stopped asking questions. I was so relieved, but I stayed huddled in my corner of the pickup bed, closest to my dad on the driver's side. The drive was taking quite a while since we were going so slow, and I started to feel tired. I was a little happy at that, since I love taking naps while on drives, and yes, I have slept in the bed of a pickup while it was moving before. I think I may have mumbled something about being tired to Ethan. He leaned in close to me and said, "You probably shouldn't sleep when around me." I looked at him then, while he was still kinda close to me. The look in his eyes said everything, while the smirk on his lips said that he meant it. I felt my face go blank while fear racked my body. As a preteen girl, I hadn't felt this before, and I had no idea what to do. I turned my head and looked back down the road. I kept my arms wrapped around my knees that were up against my chest. I could still feel his eyes lingering on me, going over every inch that they could reach. As a child, I would get into all kinds of messes, dirt, mud, grass, water, etc. But this was the first time that I had truly felt dirty or gross. I felt like I needed to go home and scrub for hours just to get clean, and even that might not help. We eventually get to the top of the mountain, stay there for a bit, and then leave. When we get to my dad's house, I tell him that I want to stay with my mom. He gets a little upset and starts asking me why. I didn't tell him what happened. I just said that I wanted to go. He gave in and took me back to my mom's house. I didn't tell her either. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't go back to my dad's till Ethan had left. Eventually, my memory of this event had faded and was long forgotten, though my body and inner alarms didn't forget. Those had helped me out through a few situations that would only qualify as just weird stories. Thankfully, my dad and the hag never married and broke up a few years later, only after tearing a rift in the relationship I had with my father, which is still kinda shaky to this day. So, Ethan, I hope that I can go throughout the rest of my life with never having you be in my presence again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you can catch all of my future videos. Thank you again for all the support I've been receiving. It's been amazing, and I love chatting with you guys on Facebook, so if you haven't added me on there, make sure to do that as well. I get on there anytime I have free time because I love to chat with my fans. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.